Tropical forests still cover large areas of our planet. They account for half of all global forests, storing enormous amounts of carbon and thereby stabilizing our climate. They are extremely rich in species. At the same time, they provide indispensable raw materials for mankind. In spite of their importance, tropical forests are highly endangered ecosystems. In most places, they are still exploited like mines. Companies clear out the precious timber and move on. Small farmers invade via the logging roads and convert the forest remnants into fields. When industrial projects for cattle breeding, soy or palm oil come into play, the cleared areas get very large. Using the forest sustainably is becoming more and more crucial. The use of wood is continually growing, especially in emerging countries with high construction activity. Brazil, for example, needs a good 25 trees per capita every year. Sustainable forest management, as advocated by Precious Forests Foundation, includes climate and biodiversity protection as well as reliable jobs for the local population. Sustainable forest management generally means that on an area of a football field, just few trees are felled at a time. That is exactly what happened in 1996 in this forest. The harvested trees created small openings in the canopy. Trees from the lower layers grow into the gaps. These are species that are shade tolerant. They can linger under the existing canopy for decades without developing significantly. But as soon as a large tree dies, is blown down in a storm, or is felled, they quickly grow into the open space. Where the canopy closes more slowly, seedlings of tree species with different strategies have their chance. For example, species that require full sunlight, or specialists that develop in the partial shade of small gaps and are able to quickly advance to upper areas. This renewal dynamic is tracked by the forest managers via a network of sample plots. In these, each tree is numbered. The samples are visited every few years and the trees are measured. Here, a first measurement was made in 1996, just before its first use. Since then, several follow-up inventories have taken place. The monitoring shows the composition of tree species has hardly changed. Only these light-demanding species with the finger-shaped leaves have become somewhat more common. After the first harvesting, the timber stock temporarily decreased, but 20 years later, the same amount of wood is again available as in the first inventory. Traces of the first logging are hardly visible today. The next harvest is planned for 2031, 35 years after the first one. By then, enough of economically preferred tree species will also have reached the legally specified diameter again. The forest can regenerate well if it is used in such a restrained way. From the perspective of climate and biodiversity protection, temporary impairments certainly do take place. However, the ecosystem is able to compensate for these within decades. Sustainable forest management requires appropriate framework conditions. Most important are secure rights of use or ownership. These rights must be consistently enforced. Illegal logging, poaching, or clearing the forest for agriculture must have legal consequences. Planning is crucial. Vulnerable parts of the ecosystem, such as peat soils, must be maintained. Seed trees and rare species have to be spared. Trees that are rotten or hollow inside must be discerned. They are of no use as timber, but they are very valuable for the ecosystem. Careful planning is also needed for the roads and the tracks for transporting the logs. Ideally, roads are designed so narrow that the canopy remains practically closed. Forest work is demanding and dangerous. Specialists who receive ongoing training perform careful forest work. Moreover, training also helps to reduce accidents. International certification for the entire product chain documents good practice and increases customer confidence. The more the still common illegal logging and over-exploitation are prevented, the sooner sustainable operations can establish. If the market is no longer flooded with cheap timber from illegal logging, higher timber prices will result. This facilitates the establishment of investment-secure, sustainably producing operations. Precious Forests Foundation is dedicated to improve the sustainable use and valorization of tropical forests. The Foundation promotes and finances innovations based on applied research relevant to the practice of certified sustainable forest management. The focus is on the use of renewable wood and non-timber products. In doing so, the preservation of ecosystem services for local communities and the planet is a matter of course.